afternoon. Welcome to the Thursday, June 6th, 2019. I'm not working.
There you are.
Welcome to the Thursday, June 16th meeting of the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. And can we have public announcements, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome Shane Gross to the commission. This is her first meeting, so we appreciate you stepping in and serving with us. And with that, we will move on to agenda item number 1, approval of the prior MAPC meeting minutes.
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Green and a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Hartman, a second by Mr. Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Abstain.
Oh, wait, we have an abstention. Two.
Joe Johnson and who?
Abstentions.
Mr. Florence.
Johnson or Ms. Gross.
773.
703.
703.
Who are the abstentions?
The abstentions would be Ms. Gross, Joe Johnson, and Terrell, Mr. Florence. Got him? All right. Moving on to agenda item number 2, consideration of subdivision committee recommendations. Item 2.1, sub 2019-0018, one-step final plat for Castlegate 3rd Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. Item number 2.2, sub 2019-0019, one-step final plat, Morris Meadows Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. Item number 2.3, sub 2019-0022, one-step final plat for Rudd 2nd Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
Move we accept items 2-1, 2-2, and 2-3.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. McKay, a second by Mr. Joe Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 11-0. Agenda item number 3, public hearing vacation items. 3-1, VAC 2019-00010, county vacation of floodway easement to allow for new construction of property. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Yes, we will hear this case. Agenda item number 3-2, VAC 2019-00011, city vacation of ownership restriction and platters text on Reserve A in Transnet Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
Move we approve. 3-2. On consent.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Green, a second by Mr. Warren. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 11-0. On to public hearing, case number, agenda item number 4, case number CON 2019-00003, county conditional use for a group residence. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Mr. McKay, we will hear this case. Agenda item number 5, case number CON 2019-00017, county conditional use application for an existing non-conforming cemetery in SF 20. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We'll take that item on consent. Agenda item number 6, case number CUP 2019-00013, city community unit plan minor amendment to New Market v. CUP DP 278 to allow lot split. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. Agenda item number 7, case number DER 2019-0001. It looks like we are going to hear that case. Agenda item number 8, case number PUD 2019-00006, city planned unit development for redevelopment of property with event center and other site improvements. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case?
No.
Yes?
Need to hear it.
Okay. When do we want to? Okay, agenda item number 9, case number PUD 2019-00007, city zoning to create LOML PUD to expand uses and address parking issues on property zone CBD. Is there anybody in the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Yes, we will hear this case. Agenda item number 10, case number ZON 2019-00013, city zone change from SF5 to TF3 to allow duplex development on property. Is anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? We will hear this case. Agenda item number 11, case number ZON 2019-00015, county zone change from RR to GC. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? You have a staff question? Was there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay. Agenda item number 12, case number ZON 2019-00016 and CON 2019-00016. City zone change from GO to LC to allow vehicle sales. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Being none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We'll take that item on consent. And agenda item number 13, case number DRN 2019-00006. Pardon me?
You could choose to defer this one, given how long everything else is going.
Okay.
Move to approve items number 5, 6, and 12.
Second.
From public hearings.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Green. Thank you, Mr. Green. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Yes, sorry, 11-0.
What do we do at 13?
Probably want to defer it based on time.
We may defer agenda item number 13 based on how much time we have. All right, let's go back to agenda item 3.1. Looks like we have Philip up there to present.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Philip Zievenbergen, Associate Planner with Planning Staff. Vacation 2019-10 is a vacation case of a platted floodway easement on approximately 4.5 acre lot out in the county on the Martin Edition Lot 2. As you can see here on the map, the platter's text says that this floodway is for the purposes of moving water west to east along this lot from the terraces that are located on property to the west to the drainage ditch that's along North 205th Street. The platter's text says that no structure will be built on there and that all the maintenance will be the primary responsibility of the owner of the lot. The owner of the lot is looking to vacate this floodway in order to increase the buildable area within the lot. He has worked with County Public Works engineer Scott Lindeback on the design of a floodway easement or a drainage ditch, basically a drainage easement north of where the current floodway easement is to effectively move the same amount of water in lieu of the floodway easement. The subdivision heard this case last week, and in the week between that and this, the Sedgwick County Public Works confirmed the design of what this drainage easement would need to be with a minimum depth of 1.5 feet at the center line of it, as well as requiring it to be vegetated with basically certain types of grass that can be confirmed from the National Resource Conservation Service in order to prevent erosion along the ditch as well as the township roadway, which is 205th Street. This area is not in any of the FEMA flood zones. You can see here, this is a lot with the floodway easement, and the flood zone is over to the east of the property. As I discussed earlier, what's in red is the floodway easement. What's in blue is the proposed location of the new drainage easement that would effectively do the same thing. And with that, I can stand for any staff questions.
Questions from the commission? Nope. Philip? Agent or applicant, if you'd like to step forward, state your name and address to present on this case, and you'll have 10 minutes.
I'm Andy Bussing, 725 Brookside, Colwich, Kansas. I don't have anything new to present today.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing really changed from last week for me.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Is there anybody on the audience that would like to speak on this case? If you'll step forward to the podium and state your name and address, one at a time, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, Harvey Bradbury, 3671 North 205th Street West. So I'm the property just to the south. I'm the property that's downhill.
If you wanted, you can use the mouse to...
Okay, thanks. There has been at least one change, I know, from last time, because last time we didn't know if it was going to be bare dirt or what kind of ditch it was going to be. So it sounds like it's going to be grass now, which is good, as long as the if it's going to be mowed, we don't know yet. But additional considerations I'd like to toss out there. We're effectively eliminating 3 terraces that run a lot of water into a single ditch. I know the ditch, the cross-section of the ditch in front of my property is different than the cross-section of the ditch in front of the neighbor to the north, and also in front of the property that's in question right now. So that ditch cross-section would need to be looked at along with the size of my whistle that I currently have, which was always sized according to having the terraces in place. We talked last time about the concrete structures to the south of me where the terraces originally did dump out. In Philip's comments, it said effectively bring the water from the west to the east. All those terraces turn before they get to the road, and it takes it to the south through the back of my property into a drainage structure, into a concrete drainage structure that is basically bombed out at this point. It's in chunks. Still serves its purpose basically because we have over the years backfilled it with tractors and broken concrete to try to retain some sort of decent flow in that area. So that needs to be an additional consideration. And additionally, the property just to the south of that feeds into that same concrete structure. It's bare dirt right now with cattle pens and so forth that's dumping waste and so forth into that entire double whistle that goes underneath the road. And there's been a considerable amount of construction with other homes and so forth in the area, and modifications to the hedge line that originally all this water would eventually end up going into a creek, okay, or a creek, however you want to say that. Okay, there's also a pond back there that has has a gate on there now that can either distribute flow or stop it. So I think all these things need to be taken as additional considerations, and I'd appreciate you looking into it because my house is downhill of what's going on here. We worked really hard 10 years ago after I bought my property to dig the dirt back out of the ditch that came from the terraces that may no longer be carrying some of this water. We did a lot of work, and it works now.
Your time is up.
Thank you for hearing me.
Is there any questions from the commission? Mr. Green?
Yes, how big is your culvert pipe that's under your driveway?
So I think it's a 32 or 36 inch single.
36 inch. Is
It
it,
could be. Yeah.
is it cleared out so that it has a full
It's
amount of
I'd say it's,
capacity for the water?
I've cleared
that
it
could
out
be-
before. It's probably due for a good summertime clearing again. I'll get my boys out there to do that, and it's probably 60-70% clear right now.
Yeah, because that would obviously make a huge difference on any potential water that could be coming through that ditch.
Sure.
The more pipe you have, the more volume you can get through there.
Correct.
And I guess the second point is, at our meeting last week, Scott Lindeback with County Public Works, and we heard today that he has reviewed this, and they seem to be okay with the proposal that has been presented.
Okay. Has he been on site? With all due respect, I don't see how you guys can make a decision without going to the property and taking a look.
Other questions from the commission?
The question I've got is, it sounds like there's some water problems there, but the report that we've got is that the change is not going to increase, water flow. Is what it is doing now. With the change, it will continue to do that. And
Yeah.
it sounds like what you're looking for is that you want to use this as an opportunity to fix a greater problem.
No, I understand what you're saying. Originally, all the water right now is currently distributed amongst 3 different terraces. So if it dumps all into this one floodway or whatever, it's going to go into one. It's going to go down to the road, to the one. It's not even a terrace, the ditch along the road. From my understanding of what I'm seeing. The further to the south, the problem to the south, they skipped this part of the process. You guys should be interested in taking care of that on your own. That is totally separate from Andy's deal. Andy at least has the decency to bring it to the commission, I think, like what you're supposed to. Didn't happen like that on the other side. So if I would you, with due diligence, I'd go take a look and take care of that.
Mr. Green.
Do we know if there was a platted floodway on that parcel that you're referring to right there?
Do I?
Yeah, do you know, the reason why this is coming to the commission today is because there is a platted floodway on his property that he's attempting to vacate.
I
And then
can't
moving
answer
it
that.
to the north. So I don't know if that property to the south of you had a platted floodway also.
This is an excerpt from the plat, and there's a floodway. You can see it's marked floodway kind of on the western side here.
So, is this a floodway right here? On the property that's in question?
Actually, yeah,
Yeah, so that's,
he may not have needed to vacate that platted floodway in order to build on his property,
okay,
which is not the case for the property to the north of you.
okay. I don't know.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? If you'll step forward to the podium, you state your name and address, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Stacy Nellis, 3721 North 205th Street. I'm the property right north of the Boosings, and so the floodway easement, drainage easement is going to be right on our property line. So I guess my concern is how far off the property line, and if the intent is really a drainage easement, or I think we're all on high alert based on what the property south of the Bradburys. They have a barn with pens behind it, and their drainage easement, I think, drains more than just water. And I'm not saying or that's what the Boosing's intent is, or we're just wanting to make sure that what is being proposed is truly to redirect the floodway and that drainage easement. And how far off our property line is it going to be? Is it going to be right on the property line, or can we allot a certain amount of, feet away so it's not directly on it? And then it's my understanding that the water is going to go south, drain south, and not north to our property. And I guess that's my main concern, that it does do that and not bring the water to that additional water to our property. And that's it. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to run. I've got a meeting in about 10 minutes, so thank you.
Let me check with the commission real quick to see if they have any questions. Questions on the commission? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we will bring agent or applicant back, and you will have a 2-minute rebuttal.
Is there an aerial of the whole, shoot, how do you go back on this thing?
Did we lose Philip?
Right
Philip?
there.
Oh,
Okay. No, I'm not changing 3 terraces. This terrace right here, right, it drains this area and drains this way, and it used to drain south onto Bradbury's property. This terrace here doesn't drain on there. I'm not modifying that, and I'm not doing anything down here. Right now, there's a floodway right here, so that just allows the water to be diverted straight across here onto the right-of-way and go south. I could do that today. The purpose of moving a drainage easement to the north end, which would create a swale, would just be to free up this area so I'd have room to build on. But I'm not adding, I don't know where the 3 terraces came from. That's not true. There's not even 3 terraces that drain over here. This terrace is above the other terrace, and it comes this way. It doesn't even come across my property. This terrace here is lower and is on the property owner to the north who just spoke here recently. So anyhow,
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Mr. McKay,
Do you agree with the conditions of the staff?
do you agree with the conditions that the staff has included?
Staff report.
The
Yes,
staff
that's
report?
fine. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Bet.
Mr. Joe Johnson.
Staff question. Sorry. One of the speakers asked the question if Scott Lindenback had visited the site. Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know if he's visited or not, no.
Mr. Bill Johnson.
Well, this would come up in front of subdivision. There was quite a bit of discussion. Scott was here. He was totally in support of it. Not adding any more water, just redrafting it, going a different way. So with the discussion we had in subdivision, I'd move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Bill Johnson, a second by Mr. Joe Johnson. Discussion.
Johnson.
1, 2.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 11-0. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4. It's like we have Dave up here to present.
Madam Chairman, I have a question to ask. In your reference, it talks about a committee that was the county engineer to look at this house a couple of years ago about the basement flooding, and I was on that committee. Does that create a conflict of interest? It doesn't make any difference. I mean, it won't change any way I feel about the conditional use.
And answering your question, it's my understanding it was a voluntary committee with the Wichita Area Builders Association. You didn't receive any compensation, correct? Okay, and yeah, it was in 2017. Is that correct as well? Is that your recollection? Okay.
Years ago,
I don't think there's any need to abstain there.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Dave, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dave Urett with staff. This is a request submitted by Andrea Henschel requesting a conditional use permit for what's classified in the zoning regulations as a group residence limited. The Department of DCF classifies this as a group boarding home for foster children. The property in question is outlined on the screen. You can see the black area. It's a 5-acre lot sitting on the west side of South Hydraulic. We're immediately south of 82nd Street. Major roads are 79th Street to the north. You can see the zoning of the property in question is rural residential. And there is rural residential generally surrounding the property that then goes over into areas that are zoned SF20, single-family residential in the rural part of the county. This is an aerial photo showing the property in question. The home improvements in question are kind of at the north end of the property. It's currently served by an on-site wastewater system and on-site well. There is not public water nor public sewer available in the area. Virtually all the homes in the area are also, as I understand, utilizing on-site water wells and on-site wastewater systems. You can see the degree of development around the property, primarily to the north, south, and west. The property to the east is used agriculturally. Just off the screen here is the river. So within the comprehensive plan, this is identified as being within the growth area for the city of Hayesville. This request was submitted to Hayesville for comments, and the Hayesville Planning Commission, and you've got a copy of the memo from the city of Hayesville regarding their vote. They voted unanimously to recommend denial of this request. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. You can show north is to the top, hydraulic is along the right-hand side, the driveway coming in, and this is the existing home that's proposed to be used for the boarding home facility. This is aerial photos of the property in question. This is the home in question. We're looking northwest at the home. Here we're looking directly west at the home. It's an existing home. This is what's across the street to the east. You can see the open field. We're looking north along Hydraulic, and then south along Hydraulic. So I'm not sure which picture you want to see. I'll leave that up for purposes of going forward. Staff is, as you read in the staff report, there have been issues with this property in the past. There were, previous owner had problems with high groundwater that was getting into the basement. I think we provided you copies previously of photographs that were taken of the damage that was occurred. And as was noted, and as I understand the background, the previous owner even approached the county about assistance on issues with the groundwater. At the request of the county, there was a evaluation done through a subcommittee with the Wichita Builders Association that resulted in the report that we attached to the staff report that had made a recommendation that the groundwater issues that were resulting in flooding in the basement were going to continue in times of heavy rains. And the recommendation out of that report indicated that the basement should be essentially be abandoned. It should be filled in and otherwise secured in the fashion outlined in that report. The evaluation that the staff did that resulted in the recommendation of denial was based on the location as much as anything else, that this is in essence a business type activity, because the intent, as we understand it, is for this not to be someone who is keeping foster children in their home, but is to be operated as a business. And as such, we did not feel this was the appropriate location for that type of activity to occur. And the staff's recommendation was for denial. As outlined in the staff report, if a planning commission is inclined to recommend approval, there are conditions that are outlined in the report. And the biggest thing was the feeling that it would be appropriate to change the conditions of this house so that in the event of extraordinary wet seasons, that we not have other flooding problems in the basement that could cause other issues with folks living or residing in the home, particularly if it were talking about the keeping of foster children. And as I said, the Hayesville Planning Commission's recommendation was unanimously for denial, which under the current regulations of the county in the zoning code will assure this has to go to the Board of County Commissioners with respect to the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So we'll go forward with that. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions of the commission before we open it up to those that are here.
Questions from the commission? Mr. Warren?
Sure, I've got a couple questions. It looks to me like there's two areas of concern here. One is the suitability of the property to be inhabitable because of groundwater problems, and to me that would be an issue, whether it's single family owner occupied or multiple family or so I'm not sure really why that is a concern to this body, from a standpoint of a change. The other side has to do with, is this from a business standpoint, an improper business to go this close to other residential properties? And my question is, do we have group home and situations close to other residential properties in and around the county or the city? Is this unique, or is this something that's fairly common to have a foster home, group home situation this close to residential properties?
I've been advised that we have a couple of apparently group homes in the rural areas but I've not visited those, and I could not answer that question. As far as others within the city, I'd have to defer to other members of staff that may be more familiar with the community than I am.
I'm familiar with several different organizations that have community-based homes for foster children in the community. It Takes a Village is one of those. They have 5 in the community that are in residential areas.
That, to me, I'm not sure where why that would in and of itself be reasons for denial, so. Those are my comments.
Any other questions from the commission? All right, thank you, Dave. Agent or applicant, if you could step forward, and you'll have 10 minutes to present. They're doing that.
Hi, my name is Andrea Henschel, and I live at 8361 South Hydraulic.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you speak a little closer to the microphone? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Sure, I can.
Thank you.
The concerns,
Can you state your name and address?
right,
Again.
Andrea
Oh, I
Henschel,
didn't hear it.
8361 South Hydraulic.
Thank you.
I am aware of all of not all of them, but the majority of group homes in Wichita. I work through St. Francis Ministries, and I actually have reports from some of the group home areas about crime rates in the area and their safeties and different things like that. Because I know that a lot of the neighbors were concerned with safety. And in this report that I have, it states that that there aren't any rise in crime. And they are in residential areas. There's, I think I have about 6 here. And they're all in residential areas. They're all group homes, which is exactly what I want to do. The crime rates don't show that they have increased since the homes were put in place. And also the appraisal values of the homes have actually increased in those specific areas of the group homes. So that's the information that I have from that. As far as safety, I've had up to 4 foster children in my home, teenagers, in the current home that I'm in right now since September of last year. And I've never had the cops called to come to my house to, for any crime reasons. They're good kids. They just need a place to go. So, yeah, I'm just trying to help these kids out. And like I said, I work with St. Francis Ministries, and there's sometimes over 100 kids on the placement list every day that need homes. There's some in the offices. I've witnessed this. I've sat with them in the offices. And I'm trying to open up my home and help these kids. And for safety, I know a lot of the group homes, they have cameras, they have locks, they have all kinds of different alarm systems and things like that. The kids, since they're in foster care, they're not allowed to just go and walk around in the neighborhood. They need to be supervised at all times. I will be their main caretaker. I think that's another concern, is that everybody is thinking I'm going to hire staff. This is a family-run home. I will be the main caretaker. My son, my mom, and I have some nieces that will also help out as needed. Due to it being a group home, we cannot live in the home. So the children, all the kids will live in the home. They'll share rooms. There's 3 bedrooms. They're good-sized rooms. So even at nighttime, whoever's there overnight will remain awake. So the kids, don't leave the house, aren't doing anything that they should be doing. So the kids will be supervised at all times. There'll be activities. There were people that were concerned with that we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing there for them to do. Well, we're 5 minutes from Derby, 5 minutes from Hayesville, if that. Wichita is right down the street. The kids that I've had, we've gone to the movies, we've gone out to eat, we've gone bowling. all kinds of different things. I don't just sit at the house with these kids. We go into the community. They visited friends. I've taken them to see family members. So they need this support. They need structure. They need a routine. So I just would love to offer that to them. And as far as the basement is concerned, I am aware of the issues of the basement. I've had people come out, look at the basement, and I am looking at other alternatives other than filling the basement in. We're working on the basement and getting that repaired as well as we can to prevent the water issues from coming in. So, and in this home, I have my own children. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. And so they live with us and they reside in the home with these children, with these teenagers that everybody seems to think are delinquent and are going to cause crime. And so if I didn't feel safe in my own home, having my own children with them, this is not something that I would put into. I mean, it's needed. It's a needed thing, and so I don't really know what else to say. I am. There'll be activities that the kids can do, like I said. Transportation to these activities, I will provide. I'll also send them through driver's ed, just like any other normal child that's not in foster care. They will have opportunity to get their driver's license. I'm going to purchase a car that, we can go out and drive in. I want to treat these children like I can treat my own children. And I've raised 2 already. They're adults now, and so I want to help them.
Questions from the commission? Mr. Richardson?
So my understanding is you will no longer be using this as your personal residence and it will be converted to a group home. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Your children will no longer be there.
They will not no, they won't be there. I moved from another home. I have 2 homes right now. I bought this home specifically for the group home. This is what my whole plan was from the very beginning, was to turn this home into a group home. My older 2 boys live in the home that I previously lived in, and I brought with me my babies to my home that I currently live in. Once the group home is licensed to be a group home, we can't live there any longer. And so then we would then move back to the other home where my 2 other children live. However, I would still be the main caretaker. All of my stuff will be at the other house, but I will still be there after school. I'll pick them up from school. I'll spend the evenings with them. Weekends, we do things. My whole family is involved in this. My sons, my mom, my nieces, everybody is involved with these kids and helping them and taking care of them. So I have supports.
Will you need to use the basement as a part of this facility?
No, I do not.
Mr. Hartman?
How do you propose to address the water issues in the basement?
Well, I've had contractors come out. I've also tried to get in touch with the Wichita Area Builders Association that did the report, trying to find other alternatives rather than filling the basement in. He hasn't got back with me about that. But I have some things that I need to do. I know that there's a lot of negative drainage around the house. And so the majority of the contractors that came out, the house needs to be backfilled. And that's one of their biggest issues, is that there's so much water pooling around the house that it's seeping into the ground and causing the sump pumps. I did have a plumber come out a couple weeks ago because 2 of them were acting kind of funny. And so they were actually plugged. One of them had dirt in it, mud, so it wasn't working. But all of the other workers that I've had come out since then say that they're great pumps and they're keeping up with the water that's coming in.
So when the study was done, did you own the house or was this?
I did not.
that
I
was
purchased
prior
the
to you
house.
purchasing
I
the house?
purchased the house in July of last year.
And were you aware of the drainage problems at that time?
The only thing that they told me is that it had water in the basement 3 times, and I have those dates, and that's what is listed in the information when I purchased the house.
From what I read in the WABA report, the problem isn't the surface water drainage, it's a groundwater drainage, which they say no amount of sump pumps are going to alleviate the problem. So it sounds to me like you're going to have water problems unless you fill that basement in.
From what I've been told by the contractors that have come out, they said that another sump pump can be added to help as well. There can be drainage around the entire house that catches all of that water from around it and diverted out into either the field or to the ditch. There's also there was something else that they had mentioned as well. So they seem to think that they have plans. That it's possible that the water from the ground, as long as we can get rid of the source of the water going down, which would be the negative drainage, and then installing a drain all the way around the house that would collect the sump pump water, that would collect the the water from the gutters as well.
Florence?
Yeah, is there any sheetrock or anything down in that basement?
No, there's not. I've had all of that removed. It's just bare wood now. Everything has, as soon as we moved in, it was pretty bad down there. And so we completely tore out that whole basement, and it's just bare walls and studs right now. There's no sheetrock, there's no bathtub, there's no sink, there's nothing down there now.
Warren?
And I'm not concerned with the basement if it's either it's going to be used for storage or for nothing at all, as long as it's not livable. I don't really have a problem with that, so I'm going to concentrate more on the other. You're not going to be living in the property. My concern would be, are the ages of the kids that are going to be in the home, the foster kids, and what kind of supervision will they have?
Well, that would be me. All group homes have staff. That's what they're called in group homes, because a lot of the homes don't have like I said, mine's gonna be family run. So they have staff that come in. They have staff, first shift, second shift, third shift, that come in and
There'll be adult supervision 24.
Yes.
20 that was my question.
Okay, yes, and I will be that main
wondering if there's going
caretaker.
to be periods of time when you're going to have teenagers in the home unsupervised.
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Dale?
Given that this is a quasi-judicial action, I want to make sure that we're clear. A group home, by definition, is occupied by people who have a developmental disability. And so technically, as I understand it, the folks that are residing here, this is not a group home, it is a group residence. And a group residence is a different category in the zoning code. Is that correct, Dave?
Well, the difficulty is the fact that the state of Kansas through
Don't
DCF.
care about the state of
Yeah.
Kansas. I care about the zoning
The
code.
zoning code, this is a group residence.
So I just want to make sure.
It's not a group home.
Because the difference is, under the zoning code, a group home, you can have 8 developmentally disabled folks living there, and then they have staff that take care of them. In a group residence, and that's allowed by right in single-family zoning, whereas a group residence, and that's why you're here in this conditional use, is because it doesn't qualify as a group home. So I just want to make sure that we are using our terminology correctly and you understand what you're voting for or against.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, Dale, could you possibly elaborate on the basement issue with the groundwater and whether it's coming in surface or coming up from the ground? Is that something that we have jurisdiction over and can rule on the
Sure, I'll address that question, Commissioner Green. I think as a planning commission, part of your determination can involve issues involving public health, safety, and welfare. So I think, especially with the type of use that this is, it may be relevant to consider that in your determination. I know that I believe Dave Yearout mentioned in his presentation that if there was the planning commission recommended approval, that I think part of the recommendation or conditions would be intended to alleviate or perhaps remedy some of those problems that the properties historically had.
Well, thank you, because quite frankly, at this point, with the basement issues that have been addressed so far this afternoon, I would have a hard time approving anything going on down there until those conditions were alleviated.
Other questions from the commission? Mr. Richardson.
Dale, could you give us a definition again of a group residence? Help me understand exactly what that.
By definition, a group residence is a residential facility providing cooking, sleeping, and sanitary accommodations for a group of people not defined as a family on a weekly or longer basis. And under our zoning code, a family is 5 or fewer unrelated folks or unlimited related by blood or marriage. And typical uses include fraternity or sorority houses, dormitories, residence halls, boarding or lodging houses, those kinds of things. It also goes on to include emergency shelters for the homeless and for victims of crime, abuse, or neglect. And there is a group residence limited, which is occupied by 6 to 15 persons, including staff members who reside in the facility.
And that is a conditional use inside single family. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And is there a ratio between staff and the number of residents?
There may be at the state, but not in the zone.
Other questions by the commission? Mr. Richardson.
So this will be a licensed facility by whom?
It's licensed through DCF, the state.
At the state. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. We'll have you back for a 2-minute rebuttal after we hear from the audience. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Somebody will step forward, state their name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. I see. He's getting up in years.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Bob Kaplan, 1600 Epic Center. I've had the opportunity and the responsibility representing many of these folks that are here in opposition to research this project rather thoroughly. As a result, I can give you 3 very valid reasons why this matter should not and cannot be approved. Starting with Mr. McKay's work, John McKay and the committee, you know that this dwelling needs a tremendous amount of remediation. There isn't any question. I agree with Commissioner that this work has to be done and done properly before it can even be considered. This is subwater. This is subsurface water, digging a ditch around the house. I'm not an engineer. I don't think that's the issue. I think the committee has the answer, and that forget the basement and fill it in. In addition to the remediation of the house, which is dealt with in the staff report, you've got a wastewater system on site that I'm told is about 40 years old. You've got a water supply system on site that I'm told is about 40 years old. I don't see any evidence in any record that any of that has been inspected or ever certified. So much for the dwelling. I disagree that it's not an issue for this commission. Property has to be suitable for its intended use. If there's an intended use for that property, as there is in this case, that property has to be suitable for that use. We're putting young men in this house, in a house that's probably full of mold, and it's absolutely not suitable for its present use at the present time. At the very least, this action's very premature. In addition to that, there's a location. This is in a rather obsolete rural location. There are no services, very few services available, transportation available. Again, that's dealt with in the report. Those two issues were dealt with by staff. I have a more critical problem than either one of those, and it was brought up by Commissioner. Information I was given, and I've had an advantage in that I've been able to talk to all these folks and research this. I have to question the suitability of Mrs. Henshaw to run this facility. I cannot confirm the comments she makes, and I could not confirm her report. We are still trying to investigate some matters, but she indicates that she has a decade, 10 years of experience in foster care. I could not get that confirmed by the Department of Children and Families.
Sir,
I'm not saying that she doesn't have.
Sir, your time is up.
I'm not saying that she doesn't have. I'm saying that I cannot confirm it. I have talked to several DCF representatives, and I have no confirmation of that.
I move we grant him 1 more minute.
Okay. We're going to give you an additional 1 minute. Will that work?
I believe that the applicant has the burden. I don't believe we have the burden. I believe the applicant has the burden of coming forward and proving that she is qualified and competent to run a foster home. And the information I have so far does not confirm that fact. So that is a serious matter. That's a serious factor. She filed a business plan. It's purely conclusionary. There's no facts or documentation in it except her conclusions. Am I done?
You've got 30. You have 30 more seconds.
All right. What I'm saying is that had to be investigated. I've tried to investigate it. It's quite frankly, folks, rather difficult many times to get answers from the Department of Children and Families. They've got a lot of personnel and you get rowboat around pretty good. But there are things that I'm not going to discuss from this podium, and I realize you can't make a decision on what I don't tell you, but the fact...
Time is up.
All right. But the fact is that we do not believe that she's a suitable custodian for teenage boys.
Okay, questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Next person that would like to speak on this case, if you'll step forward to the podium, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Gary Chapman. I live at 8326 South Victoria, directly behind the residential home purchased by Ms. Henshaw that is now listed as an LLC. I want to address just one of the reasons why I oppose this zoning change request. One of my objection is based upon Golden Rule number 3, extent to which the removal of restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. Can the uses allowed in this requested district be good neighbors to existing development? Part of the reason we are here today is because that is a subjective question. In an argument for or against, we're asked to focus on facts, not fears. Today, I want to share with you how this change will dramatically detrimental affect only our security, but our properties and homes and sense of peace for our families. I believe based on facts, we in this neighborhood have good reason to be for both concern and objection of this business in our neighborhood. I'm old enough to remember when you could ride through the streets on your bicycle and feel safe, and your parents felt safe. Today, that is not the case. Is that based upon fear or fact? It is based upon fact. I also remember in the past, we traveled in the country going on airplanes without fear of any kind of a problem. They even had a slogan that said, "Fly the friendly skies." Today, that is not a fact. After 9/11, we have to go through quite a deal to go on an airplane. As you go next door and you enter to the courthouse, which I thought that's where we was going to be, you have to go through quite an ordeal to get into there. This rural setting away from the city is the reason the majority of these people moved into this neighborhood. When I came home at night, I get a sense of peace when I get away from the city. And to make this change, to allow this change, is going to change that dynamic. And the question becomes, is this train of thought based on fear or fact? Some of the facts about this request have not been forthright unless you do your homework to study exactly what this business is for. The request says it's for a group home for foster kids. However, if you look at the business plan for this property, it states that the owner wants to establish a home to house 13 to 18-year-old boys, which will be classified as a YRC2. Is that what I understand from the business plan? Is that a correct statement? So if that is the case, you look at what DCF classifies as a YRC care facility, and it's one described by DCF as a non-secure facility that houses children with established patterns which are antisocial, oppositional, defiant, aggressive, abusive, impulsive, or high risk in nature. Youth that are being screened for psychiatric care can also stay there up to 14 days. And if they get a case that says they do need psychiatric help and they need to be in a lockdown facility, they can stay for another 14 days.
Your time is up.
Can I ask for another minute?
You can have an additional 1 minute. Can
Okay.
we give him an additional 1 minute?
The description of this business and the type of use that will be housed are not words made up by my fears, but they are made by DCF, the one that is going to give this the okay. Group homes failed to improve outcomes and protect public safety, and figures provided by Kansas Department of Corrections shows that 2/3 of the youth in group homes were either involved in misdemeanor crimes or felonies. We have some children in the neighborhood that were foster kids that are in the neighborhood, and they're not problems. And I feel that that's a much better suited way to help foster kids. She can house up to four kids, if I understand right, in this home. And I just see no reason why to make this a business to house 6 or 7 when she could do the same thing by just being a foster care parent. And I think because of that, I would like to see you deny this change. My wife worked with kids when she was younger, and one of the kids she worked with is here today, and she has the experience of being in a group home, and she would like to share her experiences if I can bring her
Sir,
right now.
your time is up. I'm going to ask I'm going to just let additional speakers know that your time really is limited to 3 minutes. And if you look around the room at the number of people that we have in this room, I really would like for you to keep it to 3 minutes. I think if I allot an additional minute or two to everybody that gets up and speaks, we may be here till midnight. And so if you truly could keep it to 3 minutes, then I'd really appreciate that. Mr. Bill Johnson, did you have a question of that last
No, I got a
speaker?
question instead.
Okay.
I'd like to see how many people want to talk on this particular item.
Okay, we could ask that. How many people do want to speak on this particular item?
The committee has the option to reduce it from 3 minutes to 2 minutes with this number of people. I'm just saying that if that's what we want to do, because I know we're going to hear a lot of the repeat.
Okay. Well,
3 minutes max then.
yes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes max. Anybody else have a question from the commission of the last presenter? Okay. Ma'am, if you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Kelly Smith. My address is 1012 Hillside Drive in Perry, Oklahoma. I would like to share with you from a unique perspective, as I was once a teenager in the foster care system. I've been in multiple group homes. Kids are not loved in group homes. Kids, it's not a home. You haven't succeeded in a foster home. You're passed on there's no way that she can care for 6 troubled youth. There's no way. I've been in foster homes, woke up in the middle of the night to fire. I've done foster care myself. We've had a 9-year-old boy have sex with our dog. This is not a place for a residential neighborhood. A male staff member, she said her nieces are going to be working with these young boys. We've One of my roommates was impregnated by a male staff member. That's not a co-ed situation. These kids are different. They do deserve to be loved, but not in that situation. They need to be in a facility. These kids are borderline detention facility children. Would you want that in your backyard? It's so personal to me. There's just, these kids are different. They're different. They will steal. They'll break in homes. My nephew's in the Sedgwick County Jail right now. Broke into a garage, stole a motorcycle to get out of a rural group home. And you can look him up. I don't have a lot of time, so I can't read all of this. These kids come from homes of deception, abuse, drugs. That's all they've ever known. That's how they're going to act. You put a good kid in a group home with 5 kids. She referred to these kids as good kids. Well, if they're good kids, why do they need to be monitored by video? Why do they, I mean, I don't know. It's not a good situation for these people. This is an established neighborhood. I mean, these are families. Would you want 6 or 7 juvenile offenders in the backyard of your 2 teenage girls? I'm done, thank you.
Questions on the commission? Okay, next presenter. State your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you for your time. My name's J.R. Bordia, 1301 East, 84th Street South. I live 1,350 feet from this place to the south, to the southwest. It's a consideration, conditioned across the country. Experts believe that the number of entering foster care will rise coming month with government spending more money into this program. Okay. It is difficult to retain social workers for the foster home, which make it unsafe. The study shows that there is a 20% rise in crime in these areas. These are good kids, we know. In core study, property at the time of sales value is less of an impact in mid to low value homes. Time for sale in this area average 25 to 35 days on the market, but in the properties of greater value from 150 and above, soften a value decrease from 12 to 19%. And time of market increase is 35 to 63 days. Not only that, we already had a decrease because of the water in our basement. Please take that into consideration. It shows that adjacent property to group homes take much longer to sell. They don't increase in price like the lady said. But group homes did not generate higher turnover in similar lower price neighborhoods. NCORE study also shows that group homes do much better in urban neighborhood, close to schools, stores, parks, etc. It will be easier for her to transport them to a park next to the house than to have to drive them 7 miles into Wichita, just to the edge of Wichita. And how are they going to control them? How she's going to find one person to control 7 kids? Some of them would like to go to the park, some of them might not. What's she going to do? Okay, so NCORE also showed that group homes do better in neighborhoods in the city. So it has to show you that this place will be better in the city limits than in the country. And if she is so for the kids, why don't she do it at cost for 10%? It will save the taxpayer a lot of money.
Are you finished? Okay, questions on the commission?
Got a question.
Mr. Hartman, can
Do you have high groundwater at your residence?
you go back to the podium, please, because we're recording and we need to be able to capture your response.
Our house is some of the last ones to flood. Her house is one of the first one, actually, it is the first one to flood. When we quit pumping water, it'll be another 2 to 3 more months before her basement is dry. Her water has been pumping to the ditch. Now I don't know what they're doing with it now. They're not showing it. But not too long ago, they were working on the ditch on the pipe. So again, we pumping water right now. And when our water stops, they're still pumping for another 90 days at least. The other thing about it is that, yes, she cleaned the basement. It was not professionally done. So that mold and the humidity still comes out through the walls. So upstairs, those walls have to be removed to verify that there is no mold behind that sheetrock and insulation.
Other questions from the commission? All right, thank you. Next speaker. You'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Mike Watson. I own Watson Heating and Cooling. My address is 8400 South Spruce. I live about right there. I have actually been called out to that property from the previous owner because she wanted to know if I could replace and repair her furnace. When I actually got into the basement, I was walking through that much water, and it was in the middle of summer.
Can you stay at the podium so we can hear you
There's
on the
3
mic,
foot
please?
deep of water in that basement. That water is not groundwater. That water's coming up from the ground. And like the gentleman said before me, the previous owner had 2 pipes run out to the ditch in front of that house, and they pumped water all summer long after the rainy season was over. If it was just groundwater leaking in that basement, that would have stopped immediately after we had the heavy rains. But they pump constantly. And like I say, I personally have been in that house when there's 3 foot of water in that basement. And that was to the previous owner, not this owner here. So that's not groundwater. That's what I just want to, that's not runoff water. That's actually water coming up from the basement. That's all I have. Thank you.
Questions from the commission? All right, thank you. Next speaker? If you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Jared Holcomb. I live at 1239 North Lakeview Drive in Derby. I am the executive director of Youth Horizons. It is a non-for-profit that has existed in Wichita for a little over 30 years now. We currently have 4 YRC2 group homes. Our first group home actually started just a few miles away from here. Our downtown office is just a few miles away from here. We have since then moved location. We have 4 group homes out in the city, out in the countryside by Valley Center. So it is in a rural community, but there are plenty of residents around, and we've been at that location for 11 years. As I said, 4 homes, we can have up to 28 boys, and we are in the process of building our 5th home and remodeling that and going through zoning for that to turn it into a girls' home. And there's a lot of concerns about safety, and I understand that. In the 11 years since we have been out in Valley Center with our group homes, our boys have had no crime records. They have done nothing against our neighbors and committed absolutely no crimes against our neighbors. In fact, our boys have become so well established in the community. They work jobs in Valley Center. They're breaking high school athletic records in Valley Center. They're employed in Valley Center. In fact, we have a marvelous for-profit business, Elderly's Farm, that works with our boys, and they charge $200 a meal a night for their people that do business with them, and our boys are able to be a part of that and work. Our boys farm out there, they ranch out there, they learn healthy and productive skills. And what's interesting is I have had many residents from this area, from Hayesville. These kids are already in your neighborhood, they already live there, and they have had to come clear out to Valley Center because there is nowhere in Valley Center for them to stay or for them to live. So we're pulling them out of their home and out of their school to live with us because there's not a place close. And I've had many kids succeed our program and successfully complete it, and they go right back to your neighborhood and live there. They're currently living there. They're serving you hamburgers, hot dogs, working on your cars, and they're already in your schools. Our young men, at the end of this semester, went all around to schools here in Wichita, and in Valley Center and volunteered and did work at middle schools and elementary schools and are successful, reintegrated members of the community. And not every kid's a success story, but all these kids have needs. They've all been neglected, they've been abused, they've been physically abused, sexually abused, and in turn, there's nowhere for them to stay, so they're staying in office buildings. They're having to sleep on floors in office buildings because there's no homes currently. We're at a crisis right now. And so if the concern is safety, as I said, there's really not been safety issues. If the concern is the community and property values, we've seen no issues with that over the 30 years that we've been doing this work in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions on the commission? Mr. Dool.
Yes, I'd like to go back to the definition that was provided us of a group home versus a group residence. And you've referred to this as a group home. And if I understand, that is for people that have physical or mental issues to deal with.
Yes, excuse me. I learned something new. That's the first time I've heard the differentiation of that via zoning rules. But it is a group residence. It's not for people that have mental disabilities.
At the state level, they may well refer to this kind of use as a group home. It's just, given that what they're doing here is zoning, I wanted to make sure you were clear what the zoning distinctions are.
And we have to license it through the state, and we get audited and inspected no less than 10 times a year.
Mr. Warren.
Mr. Holcomb, that brings me to my question, and there's a lot of concern about the condition of the property. You get licensed. Do they look at the facility? Are there rules? I know if you got a daycare, you get inspections all the time. I'm assuming that there are rules and regulations about the condition of the property that kids are going to be in. Is that something that's looked at by the state as far as being licensed?
They look at everything. We spend $40,000 a year just in maintenance and repairs to make sure that we are above board and above line on every single thing, because we get inspected from about 6 different agencies consistently. And as such, they all have their own health codes and everything that we have to keep up to date on. And so we are heavily restricted, and we try to be above board. We can show you pest control, fire department, everybody that's come out and looked at our property for healthy and safe concerns.
There was a mold issue with your property. You think they would catch that?
Yes, I do.
Other questions from the commission? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next presenter, speaker. State your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Haynes, and I live at 8400 South Ash Circle, which is right here. It's probably a good 3 blocks maybe from where this home is going to be. I think it's a good concept, but I don't think it's one for our neighborhood because we've got kids. I mean, there's tons of kids in this neighborhood. And if they're troubled kids, I mean, what are they going to do out there in the middle of nowhere when they have no place to go? So my concern is for the children that's in the neighborhood, because most of the kids go running around there, I mean, without an adult even in the yard. I mean, it's a pretty safe place to be. And after this, I'm not sure how safe it will be. So I had to bring my kids with me. You saw the girls in the front room, and they're the ones I'm worried about. So that's all I have to say.
Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if you'll state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's Trudy Rupert. Please let this be known that I'm opposing the rezoning. For a moment, stop and think about your children and your grandchildren. And it makes you pretty happy.
Ma'am, I need your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8121 South Hydraulic. We are within 1,000 feet of this rezoning. Okay, please stop and think for a moment how happy you are when you have children and grandchildren. But how would you like it if the environment changed? It will change. The area will change if you grant this rezoning. There is a state licensed daycare center within 2.5 blocks of this rezone. And we want you to know that this is proposed as a YRC, not a foster home. Please make no mistake, her business plan says YRC. There's a huge difference between a foster home and a YRC. The state licensed daycare provider has never had any problems, but this will change if you guys grant this. The owner moved into a safe, quiet environment, loved the area, stayed, and started daycare. Can you imagine what the parents will feel if you grant this? Our children in this neighborhood should be kept protected and safe. I'm extremely concerned because our grandchildren go to this daycare. And what will that change if you grant this? This is a residential, single-family dwelling area. Also, I talked to a sheriff's officer, and I just asked him, I said, can you tell us what it will take if we call 911? Because we will be calling 911. He said 25 to 30 minutes if an officer is in the area. He said, you have one, and we checked this out, we have one sheriff's officer per 36 square mile radius in that area. What does that do to the rest of the homeowners when they call 911 and need help? I think we're all going to suffer if you guys grant this. I asked the sheriff's officer what would happen. He said, ma'am, you call 911 and you pray that somebody shows up to help you. He said, in my experience, he said, there's vandalism, theft, assault, and sexual abuse. So please, think about your children, your grandchildren, your family. Would you want this in your backyard? We are within 1,000 feet of this home. We bought our home, built our home, not to have more than single-family dwelling out there. So please, think about what this would do to your family, how it would impact your children and your grandchildren, and please take that into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Florence.
Do you have a water issue in your basement? Do you have water issues in your basement?
We do not at this time.
How long you been out there?
We built our house 13 years ago, and when we built our house, we got a permit, and no one from the building department told us about the water issues out there. Their water issues have been going on out there for years. And we could have built anywhere, but we chose that area because we drove that area for 6 months before we bought our land out there to build that home. And now look what is proposed to go in down the street from us. We don't want that because that's not why we build out there.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaker?
My name is Clement Dickerson. I live at 8815 South Hydraulic. I'm also the trustee of Salem Township. Salem Township has a very unique situation that we fall under the zone of influence of Hayesville, Derby, and Mulvane. I know that none of these communities have allowed these type homes. As a matter of fact, the city of Hayesville denied it as well as the council. I wasn't going to speak on water issues, but there are approximately, under the worst conditions, 250 homes in that area who have water in their basement, or sumps running 24 hours a day. A few years ago, when we had this big event, I pumped from May to November with 2 sump pumps running full bore. I am pumping 240 gallons a minute right now. And I'm not as close to the water table as Kay's old property, the property in question. I was asked to talk about the increase in traffic. When they had to vote on the casino, the people voted in our township, when we looked at the numbers, to deny the casino in Sedgwick County. However, we have ended up with one of the problems of the casino, and that hydraulic, and since the casino was put in place, the traffic has doubled. Right? And that's according to Mark Morse of Sedgwick County. And this is the latest count on hydraulic. So that's all I have to say.
Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you, sir. Other presenters for this case? If you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Nick Warren. I live directly behind the property. I've lived there for 32 years. I'm very familiar with this property because I've remodeled it twice.
Sir, I need your address, please.
8340 South Victoria. Okay. I've remodeled this house twice over the years. I've helped the previous owners with many pumps and pipes. I'd like to quickly talk about 4 different problems with this property. Condition of the house, it's 38 years old. The rooms are very small. It has a long history of mold, termites, and spiders. The basement flooding, we've talked about that already. Mr. Kaplan's touched on it. It does have 3 sump pumps in the floor, only 1 window well, and at this time the drainage pipes are not hooked up to carry water to the ditch. The wastewater septic system, we've also touched on that. It is designed for a single family use only. It will not handle more than 1 family. I have a document with me from Tim Wagner of Sedgwick County Inspection Department. He found no record of inspections at this property, told me it will be very expensive to bring the system up to code for a multi-family use. Also, the water well is very old. We know that. The water's not been tested, and the well has not been inspected by Sedgwick County. We have a lot of water problems in this area, as everyone knows. Now, Mrs. Henschel said something about backfill around the basement. This is not going to help. The basement is just too low in the ground, and it's not rainwater like we've talked about. It is ground table water. I also am pumping water at this time. This pump will run for another 2 to 3 months. Questions?
Questions from the commission. Mr. Joe Johnson.
You stated you remodeled this 3 times?
Twice.
Twice? Did you get permits for that?
Yes, I did.
So what's consistent? I thought you stated he said there was no permits issued or something for the water well.
The water well?
Oh, Tim Wagner, what did he state?
Tim,
Mike, Mr. Johnson, can you speak into the mic, please?
What did Mr. Wagner state that had not been done?
It's not been inspected or the water has not been tested. We don't know if this water is safe for these children to drink.
He was only talking about water.
And the septic system.
Thank you.
It has to be replaced.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the rest of the speakers. I think we've heard quite a bit about the fact that there's a water issue with this particular property. So if we could maybe keep comments to things other than the basement issue, because I think we're all pretty well versed in the fact that there's a basement water issue. Thank you. If you'll state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Ann Warren, and I also live at 8340 South Victoria. And I'm here to talk about my stepson, Nico Warren, who is 36 years old. And he is a special needs boy. He was in a motocross accident when he was 18, and so he gets around real good. He's kind of like a Forrest Gump. He loves to mow the yard, and he likes to come and visit the neighbors. And he's the kind of kid that if you're out there working probably on something or on your car, he's probably there visiting you. And kind of what bothers me about this kind of a home, you know, it might help out 4 boys, 6 boys, but those boys can affect my boy in the way that they can come and through the neighborhood, you know, when she talks about them getting a driver's license and stuff like that. Well, if they go traveling in that neighborhood just practicing, well, that can affect, maybe they could either hit him, they can get out of the car, they could pick on him. They can also pick on him as they're walking through the neighborhood or something like that. That does bother me. Nico's if you ever knew Nico, he's a kind of kid that he can be really probably easily influenced. He really hangs a lot with his dad, but when he goes in the neighborhood among our neighbors, we trust them to kind of interact with them and stuff like that, and we really like that about this neighborhood, is that we know that our neighbors are trustworthy and stuff like this. So I am a little concerned about these types of kids being around. And they're not just kids that, like we keep saying, they're not just ordinary kids with just a little bit of problems. They're kids that, again, that right now they're going to the Derby school, and to say that these kids have never had trouble, we have heard. In fact, we had a couple of parents that were going to come speak today, but because they were afraid that what they were going to say about these kids going to the Derby school, because these kids that were in her care did get kicked out. 2 of them got kicked out. And so I think that should be addressed, that, that they aren't just easy kids getting along. I don't know, I think one of them stole something, what I understood of why they got kicked out. So that bothers me. If they are going to have if they're going to come, and they live right behind us, so they can have direct contact with Nico, and he would probably, be one of those kids that would be very open to these kind of kids. So to me, with that kind of troubledness of them, being in that type of trouble, with having that type of troublesome, stealing, that kind of stuff, that bothers me. When we talk about, I guess my time's about up. Thank you.
It is. Questions from the commission? All right, thank you. Sir, if you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3
Yes, I will.
minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm up here to, one of the
Need you
problems
to
I
state your name and address.
Charles Rupert, 8121 South Hydraulic. And the problem I have with it, I oppose it. And the other reason I have is there's no lights out there for anybody. There's no sidewalks for any teenage kids. No basketballs, no nothing. The field's about this tall right now. The grass needs mowed. I would think you could take care of your yard. I don't know what the kids are going to do. And I had problems when I was a kid, being a young man. So I know what they're going through. It's not a joke. Nobody in here does not like them. It's just, it's not a real good setting besides the problems with that house. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Questions from the commission? Thank you. You state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Miranda Miller. My address is 2920 North Boulder in Wichita. I've known Andrea for 2 years, and I met her when I started working for the same foster care agency as her. I wasn't at the last meeting, but someone here at the last meeting said that there's other places to take these kids, but not here. But I don't know if you guys have seen in the news, but there are children sleeping in contractors' offices because there are 7,600 children in foster care in Kansas, and there are not enough homes willing to take the teenagers like Andrea is. So no, there actually aren't enough places in Kansas for these kids. I'll be the first to admit that there are group homes that I don't believe are managed very well. But many are doing the best that they can, and some are doing a fantastic job at giving children a stable, clean, welcoming environment where these kids can be who they want to be. Of course, a child is going to run away when their only options are a poorly run group home or sleeping on a couch in an office because all the good placements are filled up. But based on the way Andrea runs her current foster home, I know she would do an incredible job at running a group home as well. I wanted to ask, did anyone ask her about any of her experiences? No? Okay, well, let me tell you about some of mine. At one point, Andrea and I had cubicles next to each other at St. Francis. One of the teenagers that had been placed overnight at her house the night before had come to our area looking for her. She had stepped away, but then shortly came back afterward. The teenager looked pretty different from others and had strange mannerisms, but she had treated them so well that they were incredibly excited about returning to her home the next night. The next day, Andrea told me about her young daughter showing this teenager all of her toys, and the teenager patiently listening to her about the doll's hair and the doll's dress. As part of the job in child welfare, workers have to do on-call hours. That usually means sitting in the office or in the community with children until 8, sometimes 10 or 2 a.m. Until another worker takes over, until hopefully placement is found for that child. After a certain point, foster homes stop answering phones and they stop searching, and it is determined that the child will sleep in the office. You might get a text from the on-call supervisor and around 1 a.m. and that has happened. You are now the lucky winner that will get to drop the bomb that this child will not get a bed, but a couch in the same office that reminds them of being removed from their families. Not knowing whether shaky words or vomit will come out of your mouth. Once the courage is there to say it, you do it, otherwise you never will. First-timers, hopeless and confused that not a single home wants them. More devastating to watch are the veterans who already know the drill, numbed by the emptiness.
I'm sorry.
Can I have an extension? Can I have an extension? Just 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute.
Numbed by the emptiness of being passed around with their belongings in trash bags. Essentially, what those workers have to do is tell those children, nobody wants you. And all Andrea is trying to do is tell those kids that somebody does. How many of you are appalled how many children in foster care are missing? Or how many are horrified by the brutal deaths of the children murdered here in our state in the last 5 years? May the souls of Adrian Jones, Evan Brewer, Lucas Hernandez, Jesslyn Hewlett, and the many others rest in peace. If you are outraged, saddened, or shocked by the statistics of the missing and dead, but you aren't willing to let Andrea have 3 more children in her loving home, then that by definition is hypocrisy, and you are contributing to the brokenness of the child welfare system. If you are not going to approve the rezoning to a commercial property, then I would challenge at least 3 neighbors to become licensed foster parents to make up for the potential that is being lost by denying Andrea's request. If Andrea's request is approved, then I applaud you for seeing the bigger picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Thank you. Next presenter.
Hi, my name is Monica Johnson, and I live at 1517 East 85th. I did do foster care. I took in children. I ended up adopting 4 of them. 2 of them I had to give back because they were very, very disruptive. So you taking in the children, I praise you for that. Don't get me wrong. But you can't say they're not going to do bad situations and bad things, because I had to send some back myself. So I just want you to understand, it's not the children that we're worried about. It's not you we're worried about. It's the living environment and our safety.
Questions from the commission? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margaret Dietrich, 8359 Victoria. I live on the street just behind the house that's being proposed. And I had a letter here that I was going to read from the parent whose kids go to school with some of the foster kids, but it's kind of already been covered that they were expelled and whatever, so I'll skip by that. But my one question that come to my mind after that is, if the basement's not usable and there's a tornado and they're out on 5 acres of land, where are they going to go? Because there's no shelter there then, and they can't use the basement.
Questions from the commission? Okay, next presenter.
My name is Carla Whaley. I live at 1515 East 82nd Street South. and I and my husband live directly behind this house that's up for zoning. We built this house 34 years ago in this rude addition, and it was our dream to go back and live in the country. I am a country girl. I love being outdoors. But this is a tight-knit group that live down in this rural residential area. We want to keep it a rural residential area. We feel that there is no need for this business. Now, we've discussed some of this as a business. When she purchased this, she did not mention that she was going to have up to 7 children. Have you checked into how much money they make per child? It is a business, and you do make quite a bit of money. How can you run your own family life, work for a company, and also have a business like this out of your home and be a mother also? That is my question. When it was acquired by Ms. Henschel, she wanted the problem piece of property with a now substandard home. We've all talked about that. Business opportunity to make her home, even though the zoning was not allowing this. And she knew this before she purchased this. This brings me to my last but not least, the most important is the opportunity. As I see that behind this as I sat behind this property and notice there's no kids outside playing. Like I had kids growing up, they were always out playing ball or playing catch with each other. I haven't seen anybody out doing anything, mowing the yard. As was stated, the grass is at least knee-high behind us. What I don't see are kids being able to go get a soda. We have no sidewalks, and it's a long ways to Hayesville, to Sonic or the mini stop to get a soda. They have to be taken everywhere, and it has to be approved by the foster person to get them a ride, to take them anywhere. And how can you do that when you have 7 children if this is approved? It was mentioned that she's living there. She lives in Hayesville right now. She is not residing there with the 4 that are there. I want to give you a study that shows that the young men shuttled multiple times, then aging out, have a 90% likelihood of being incarcerated after aging out. I reference this to the juvenile law system, which is, what is the foster care to prison pipeline? Check it out. It's pretty interesting. Those statistics show that. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So what are the other kids that live in the neighborhood, like what do they do in the neighborhood, or what's available to them? Do they have sidewalks, or do they
No
have
sidewalks
places?
out there. This is
What are those,
sand and
kids
gravel.
that are existing that live there currently? What do they do?
They ride their bicycles safely right now, but we won't be able to do that once this happens.
Do the parents drive them places?
That's not a main street.
It's not, where we live is back away. What I worry about too is hydraulic. We've had a person killed from walking along hydraulic because of the casino traffic.
Sure, yeah, I live right off hydraulic.
Okay.
Way south, so I'm quite
But
familiar
yeah,
with
the
area.
kids are taken to soccer games, baseball games right now.
Okay.
And so.
Thank you. Other questions from the commission? Okay, next presenter.
My name is Kelly Chapman, and I live at 8326 South Victoria, right behind this property. I would like to present to you that we have, there were 72 property owners within 1,000 feet, and that was the requirement for us to get petitions together for the people that own property within 1,000 feet. We have 64 of the 72 properties. We have 89% of the homeowners of the properties within 1,000 feet that have signed official petitions against this in our neighborhood. We also have unofficial petitions because there's people here that are beyond the 1,000 feet that they care, and it will affect them. It'll affect the values of their properties. It'll affect them, and they wanted to be a part, but they couldn't be a part of these 64. But they signed petitions, and we have 253 signatures in the area of people who are against this coming into our neighborhood, and we would like these to be put on record. Thank you.
They need to be provided to the county clerk, please.
I have the official ones for them, but they asked me to hand you these. You don't, to put them on record?
Scott, you would take them? We'll have you hand those to Scott. Were you finished with your presentation? Okay, Mr. Joe Johnson has a question. No, you don't have a question. Anybody else have a question? Okay. Sorry, Joe, I thought you had your hand up. Yeah, right, this gentleman right here in the blue, that's waving his hand right here.
Yes, sir.
You wanted to submit that?
Yes,
paperwork?
yes, am I bringing it
Right
to you?
over here.
Don't be scared of him.
He's not that scary. He kind of looks scary, but we keep him under control. All right, next presenter.
Good afternoon. My name's Michelle Sandy. I live at 8401 South Spruce. I'm out of that 1,000 feet area, but I wanted to address the question that you had about what do the kids that live out there do? I myself did foster care for 7 years. We made sure our property was set up for children, which requires a huge amount of regulations to be met by the state of Kansas to allow them to have things to do on our property, because there is not any walkable distance safely for children to do out there. So we ourselves have put in our own swimming pool, our own basketball hoops. Our kids do safely ride within our cul-de-sac area. We live down in the corner where Mr. Watson lives. However, we also have to deal with the slow police response, which has been addressed. We had smash and grab break-ins overnight. We weren't able to catch the perpetrators for that. We live along a tree line that is able to be accessed from hydraulic with no visual acuity that you can walk onto anyone's property. No person out there should have to fence around their yard completely to keep people that don't belong there off. It is not a safe area for troubled kids that have nothing to do. If you want to leave that home, if it's a 30-minute response time for sheriffs, you're in Oklahoma, because we are not far from that distance. I'm all for, yes, these teenagers need places to go. They do not have to be supervised. If she's getting the ones that the higher level ones, yes, there is some level of supervision that has to be required, but then in the home she's talking about, it has to be all boys. And if you get one of them that's a sexual offender, her nieces won't be able to work there, and no female adult will be able to because of that particular offense. And then I now have to worry about my 12-year-old daughter walking the street in her own cul-de-sac if someone decides to leave property. That's all I have to say, and I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much. Next presenter, we have anybody else? Don't be shy. State your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Larry Oddie, 1036 East Twisted Oak Road in Derby, Kansas. And I'm the one that's been taking a ton of notes, and I'll try to summarize what I've heard. A lot of you have brought up the safety and violence issues, and I know that everybody's concerned about that, whether you live next to a group home or a group residence, or a foster care home, or a nursing home, or a school, or whatever. You see the location. The location has no schools and churches and liquor stores within the area there. And no one that's presented here has given any specific evidence and related to any crime at any location of any other foster or care home. Not one person in here. I know that's an area of great concern. Jared Holcomb presented, Executive Vice President of Youth Horizons, and I know that he's the man on the job, and he knows. And he's experienced this, and he made no evidence and presented any evidence, and we asked him to. If there's been issues here and there, they need to be brought up, but he didn't bring any up. So there's really no confirmed and no specifically stated evidence. A lot of you have brought up issues about water mold and groundwater. It sounds like everybody in the area has some, but no one in the area over the last year has been in that house. Not one of you, not even Mr. Watson, the plumber. So is there personal experience in the basement? You said it's been 2 years, 3 years, when you walked in 3 foot of water. It's my time, sir.
Let the audience not make any comments.
Thank you. But you presented a lot of rhetoric, but I'm not sure that anybody has personally been there. Andrea has removed all the shrubbery around the house. She has personally dug up roots of shrubbery. It's around about 60% of the home, removing the back deck. That'll be taken care of with backfill, so that we can address some of that, as well as what she has going on inside the house and what needs to be done to control some of the groundwater there. Location, I want you to look at that location. Not any of you that live in that area, not any of you will see any cars going in and out and through your neighborhood as Andrea goes to and from her home. I mean, that's just, what a great place. And we've made such opposition of where the location is, but we have a home there that actually sits to where you won't even see someone come and go. But you're so concerned about people going in and out of your neighborhoods, and that, I don't know why. Property values. There hasn't been one person here that's presented a specific address that says the property value was $300,000 and now it's $200,000 because they live within 1,000 feet of a group home. You got to be more specific when you present the cases here. Inspections. Inspections for the sewer has been in 2009.
Sir, your time is up.
The water well has been inspected in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next presenter. Boy.
My name is Susan Oddie. I live at 1036 East Twisted Oak Road also. And I'm just a little bit curious as why people aren't looking at this as an opportunity. You have these, what you guys are taking as throwaway kids. These are kids that need help. You guys all have something to offer each and every one of those kids. Where are they going to be in 3-4 years when they're out of high school? You have the opportunity now, if you have businesses, if you have something done, you can engage with these kids and make them a part of your community. You say you have a tight-knit group, but yet you want to just be in a bubble. There's nothing wrong with these kids. They've been in bad luck situations. They don't have parents that love them. They don't have anybody that loves them. They're thrown out of their houses, put into facilities, and Andrea has been kind enough to open up her house and actually welcome these kids in. But they need something now before they become adults. And then they become our problem community-wise because they will be the next people that are robbing you or whatever you guys have in your minds that these kids are going to do. But you can't blame the kids now for what the statistics say is going on in our neighborhoods. They're not the problem there. But eventually they might be. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, when I was in school, I was kicked out of school twice for fighting. But you know what? Is that I became an adult. I became somebody that could actually become a member of society, but I wouldn't look at them as though that they're just throwaway kids. This is an opportunity now that I think that everyone should welcome and try to do something. I mean, if you're a business owner, this is a grand opportunity for you. Do something as opposed to stand up in the neighborhood and complain that these kids are moving in when they really aren't going to have that big of an impact on you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next presenter. If you'll state your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Joe Whaley. I live at 1515 East 82nd Street, South Hayesville. I'm right behind her, the home in question. And I wasn't going to come up here, but it was stated that no one's been in that basement for a year, that in our neighborhood. I've been down there more than once in the last year. And that place has been, all the stuff that was in the basement before Walton's moved out was 5 foot off the floor on tables because the basement, as we all drove it in the ground, there's a water problem. So I just want to make it clear that, yes, somebody was in there before. And I apologize for raising the question when I was sitting down. Another thing, just for the question asked, I never understood why the woman wants to put a home here, and she never went around the neighborhood at all, talked to the neighbors, get a feel for we felt. To me, not knowing any better, it's just strictly a business venture for her more so than all this love that she's putting out. But I'm not. That's all I've got to say. So, if there's any
From the
questions,
commission. Okay, thank you.
thank you. And I apologize for.
No worries. Next presenter, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. If I had a button to hit to just automatically say that, that'd be great.
Edward Strucka, 8210 South Victoria. When I brought property in this resident.
Sir, can you repeat your name for Mr. McKay?
Strucka, Straka.
Thank you.
When I purchased this property, I was moving into a neighborhood with no businesses. That's what attracted me. I don't care what kind of home this is. I don't want any business in our neighborhood that's a business that takes 7, 8, 10 people going to be running around the neighborhood. That's all my concern. I moved into a neighborhood. I want to keep it a neighborhood, not a business area. That's my concern.
All right, next presenter.
My name is Debbie Provines, and I live at 8327 Victoria. And my concern, as we all express our concerns today, is once this is rezoned, if it does happen, there's 2 empty lots on either side of that house that she can build more properties on. And if she chose to grow her business, then it would expand from 8 to 16 to 24 kids, which triples our concerns. That's it.
Okay, questions from the commission? I do appreciate you bringing up that train of thought. Thank you. Next presenter.
Yeah, staff question.
Yeah, let's have a staff question.
This is a conditional use, so that would not allow for expansion based on what we're approving today?
Correct, it would not.
Were it to be approved, the requirements or recommendation is that it would be limited to the site plan that's submitted, which shows the existing structure only.
Thank you.
You next. All right, if you'll state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Charles Hacker. I live at 1500 East 85th South. I'm just off to the next street down in close proximity. I moved there a year ago. I found out the water costs a lot of money, a lot of time to put this together. I'm working on that in my house as well. It is a nice neighborhood. But my question is, do I have the opportunity to ask her a single question? It's very quick. No.
You
Okay.
don't, but if
Okay,
you would
what's
like
been asserted to me is that I'm speaking from a businessman approach. I've been in business for over 30 years. I worked with young people in business. What I see here today is a failure on her part to lay her plans together to allow you to make a tough decision to protect kids, or is this a business, and how it's run as a business. And what started out here is, I don't know about her experience, but I'm telling you, she has not earned the trust of the neighborhood. If you go by there, the grass is not being taken care of. Yes, we drive by your place all of the time. We see you. We also have, the problem with this is, I don't think she's thought it through. and that's of concern. Why don't you start this out as a challenge? Do it for 4 people that you can right now legally, and prove to these people here that you can do it, and then come back and revisit this once you establish yourself instead of forcing it on people. Do you have any questions of me?
Can we refrain from clapping in the audience, please? Mr. Bill Johnson, do you have a
Yes, sir.
question?
Speaker, but I mean, while these people got up and said something, the other side didn't clap or whatever.
That's
And
correct.
I just wish they'd show the same appreciation.
Yes.
This is tough. You commissioners have a tough choice, but there's a way to earn trust, and I believe that she can do it. If that's really what she wants to do, start out slow, build the trust, because you can't build a big business on a bad foundation.
And I will let you know that as commissioners, we're not charged here with determining whether or not she has a good business plan or whether she proceeded in that effect. We're simply here to look at zoning.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a judgment call, and you're going to be making that judgment call. Thank you.
Thank you. Next presenter.
My name is Tanya Ridpath. I reside at 1500 East 86th Street South. I pass the property every day. My concern, since I've seen her conditional use permit, is that I worked for Security First Title for 14 years and I did a lot of stuff with you people. She can lot split this property, and then we can be right back here doing all this stuff again. There's just a lot of property to work with. I understand that this is just for conditional use now. That doesn't mean that if this gets passed now, that something else can't happen because it was already passed. It can make it easier. I live there because I enjoy the peace and quiet. I love kids, and I'm a parent, and this is hard for everybody. I've gone back and forth. But she hasn't even come to any of us and tried. And I think that that's been the hardest thing with all of it. And I pass that property every day to go to work, and I've never seen a kid, ever seen one outside playing, never seen anybody doing yard work unless there's a group of people there to tear things off the property. Right now, if she has kids there, it's a hazard. There's wood everywhere from where they've ripped the deck off. And there's things like that. I'm taking into perspective, I understand it takes a while for a cop, but we're gonna have kids with some health issues, maybe asthma, maybe diabetes, maybe something like that. And I'm more concerned with the fact of how long it's gonna take an ambulance to reach our property areas or to help one of these kids if there was a fire and people are trapped inside. I got hit at 79th and Hydraulic by a drunk driver. This is just not a safe place for these children. I oppose this because everything that I've seen so far as a parent is not safe for these children. And I appreciate your time today.
Questions from the commission? Thank you. Any other speakers? Is that it? All right, we're going to close the public hearing, but no, we're not going to close the public hearing. We're going to hear 2-minute rebuttal.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
due to the fact that there's been like 20 people speak against this, I would like, if she needs the extra minute or so to finish her rebuttal.
Okay. Let's start with 2 minutes and see if you need an extra minute, okay?
As far as the water well, it has been tested. It's clean. There's no concerns, no bacteria, no anything in it. I've got paperwork here to prove that. Septic system, they're coming out on July 1st. It's going to be inspected by the county. So I have that scheduled. It was installed in 2009 is when it was installed. I had actually called when I first purchased the property, and asked, I can't remember what septic system place it was, if I needed to have it checked out. They said no, as long as you're not having any backup through your drains and everything's draining fine, then you should be fine. Then come to find out I needed to, I guess it was required, that I have it done. So now I have scheduled it for July 1st. It will be inspected. The water, I already said that. I did have an inspection, a home inspection completed to check for mold, and they said there's no mold in the house. They've done their tests. I have reports from them saying that there's no mold. And that was back in February. I have worked in social services for the last 12 years. I started at Youthville in 2007. After Youthville lost their contract, I switched over to St. Francis Ministries, which is now where I work. I have worked in the field, the child welfare field, for 12 years. So I have a license. If anybody needs to see my license in social work, I do have one. I've been in contact with the sheriff's officer.
Your time is up. Would you like to have an additional 1 minute?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So his name is Sheriff Heeman. He's the second shift beat officer in our area. I've contacted him, and he's aware of what I'm doing. He said that he would be to the home within minutes of receiving a call. He said that people saying 20 minutes or more he said that's absolutely ridiculous. So I told him that this is what I'm doing. He's actually come to the home, and this is what he's told me. Same with any kind of EMS, emergency vehicles. He said that there's no way that it would take 20 minutes to get to our properties. I'm in it for the money is absolutely ridiculous. You don't get paid much for foster care. You have bills to pay. They need clothes. It's just like raising a child. No child is cheap to raise. They're in sports. You have all of these things that you have to pay for. I'm not in it for money. I'm in it because I want to help these children. There's no other opportunity. I've worked with these kids for the last 12 years, and I know what they need. And there's just absolutely crazy that I'm in it for the money.
Okay,
It's not a business opportunity for me.
Your time is up. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Let me see if can you stay up at the podium so we can see if the commissioners have any other questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, starting with Mr. Warren.
There, in the staff report, although it was recommended that denial, they said, should the planning commission decide to approve, there were some conditions. I want to kind of summarize them briefly. It says that the structure would comply with recommendations of the Wichita Building Industry Panel regarding the basement would be one of the conditions. That prior to the group residence, a site plan would be submitted to the Director of Planning demonstrating site compliance to certain standards that are written. Site would be developed and operate in compliance with all federal, state, and local rules and regulations. And that if there were violations of the conditions, the planning director could declare the conditional use null and void. Are you in agreement with those conditions?
What I am hoping for, because they want me to fill my basement in. Like, this is the only thing that they want to happen, is for me to fill it in. I am looking at other options rather than filling it in. And that's why I'm having all these contractors come out to the home. So if a different option is available, I would rather go forward with that. But yes, I definitely am concerned about the safety and the hazards, and I don't want to live in a house that has mold. I don't want my children in a house that has mold. This is a safety concern for myself. So if it's a safety concern for myself, then why would I even try to have, like I said, it's not a business. This isn't just for money. This is because I actually care about children.
If basically, if I were to vote to approve it, it wouldn't necessarily have to be the basement would have to be filled, but that you would have to satisfy the Wichita Building Industry Panel. We need somebody outside to look at this and come up with a plan that is safe. Now, if you can convince them of something other than filling in the basement, I don't have a problem with that, but something's going to have to be done to make that a safe situation.
So would that be Wichita Area Builders Association? Because if that's the
Who
case,
would
the guy won't
Staff
contact
question,
me
who would the
back.
Wichita Building Industry Panel be?
As Commissioner Warren, my suggestion on that is that you would have up to the standards determined by MABCD. They'd probably be the most appropriate folks to look into that.
That's good.
MA?
BDC.
BCD.
BCD.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions from the commission? Mr. Richardson?
Have you had the state of Kansas or any regulatory authority look at this property?
Yes, they came in, sorry.
And what did they say if that's the case?
They've already come in. I'm licensed, so they didn't have an issue with it. I have a home inspection every month, once a month, by my foster care worker, and she comes in, looks at the house.
And would the inspection for a group residence be different than a foster care?
I'm not completely sure on that yet because I haven't made it that far. Right now, I've just been focusing solely on getting the house zoned, and then after zoning and writing all of my policies and procedures, I will then transfer over to a different portion of DCF, and they will let me know everything else that needs to happen.
But as of now, you're approved by the state in that residence for foster care.
Yes, I am.
Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? I have a question. Do you have any idea, are you familiar with Blue Sky Ranch at 8830 South Hydraulic?
I'm not.
Okay, I just wondered if you knew how long they had been, have young men at their property,
Oh,
so.
I'd never even heard of that one.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Johnson?
I understand correctly.
Joe?
Joe, you gotta lean up, gotta use your mic.
Did I understand correctly that there are 4 young men living there now?
Yes, there are.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Mr. Bill Johnson, are you helping him? Thank you. I appreciate your assistance. Other questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring this back to the commission for action. Yes, Mr. Warren.
I'm going to move to approve with the 4 conditions as stated in the report, the conditions that I just talked about, with the condition of the basement being determined for remediation by the MABCD.
I like that motion, so I'm going to second that. Discussion.
Well, I'm not going to be in favor of that. I think with the neighborhood opposition, the denial by the Hayesville Planning Commission, and the business use within the residential neighborhood are enough for me to vote no.
Mr. Bill Johnson.
I'm going to support the motion because it's a conditional use and she's got a lot of things to get done before this ever happens. If she doesn't get one thing done, nothing's going to change. So I would give her the opportunity to show herself, and hopefully it works out. But if she can't get it done, it won't happen.
I'm going to say I'm going to support this motion because I know in the work that I do in the community, and I'm deeply involved in the community, I know a lot of statistics around child abuse and foster children, and I do know that we're seeing an increase of about 25% a year of foster children going into the foster care system. And I personally am concerned about where we place those children as that number increases. I know that if we don't find places for them, they are growing up in offices, they are being sent from home to home to home, and we're raising what could potentially be our future criminals that are adding to our prison system. So I think that we as a community have to address this issue. And I think a lot of people can say not in my area, but I see and have seen and visited and dealt with a number of very well-run homes in this community that sit in residential areas. And because I'm familiar with them and the kids that they serve, I can't help but be supportive of this motion.
I'd like to support you on that. I'm actually from very South Wichita, and I started off in Hayesville, and I wound up getting kicked out of Hayesville, and I wound up in group homes. And I do think this is a suitable area for an environment like what she's wanting to provide for kids. And if it's safe for your children, I think it's safe for her children. And I am a product of that system, and I own my own business, and now I'm on this commission.
Mr. Richardson.
Good. It's just a staff clarification. Dale, this is in the county, correct? Valid protest petitions and this will go to the county commission next?
Yes, by virtue of the fact that the Hayesville Planning Commission recommended denial, that would require it to go to the county commission for consideration. And it only takes one protest on a conditional use to also require county commission consideration.
And does that require a supermajority at the county commission?
By virtue of the Hayesville, that does require a supermajority, and then if they are over the 20%, then that would be a 3/4 majority to override the
A
protest.
supermajority is 2/3? I thought it was 3/4 as well. Is that
On a protest, it is 3/4.
3/4? Okay. So that would require 4 of the 5 commissioners.
Correct.
Just wanted to clarify that so everybody understands how that works when it leaves here, regardless of what we do here. It's going to go to the county commission because of the Hayesville recommendation. Okay. All right.
Other discussion.
Well, the issue I have with it is that I like what she's doing, but the conditions of the exterior of the home bothers me. Because if you're going to have children there, you should at least have the exterior in a condition where they can go out and play. But if grass is about 12 inches, that bothers me. And then, like I say, you got overwhelming disapproval of the surrounding area. That bothers me also.
Mr. Warren.
Just one comment on that, and certainly we've had a week of weather, but I know I've been playing catch up on properties from mowing.
Us too.
So
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's do a show of hands. All in favor say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed, same sign. 3. Motion carries 7-3. Okay, let's move on to the next case. We've got agenda item number 7.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
Let's take a 5-minute break, and if you all can take conversation outside so we can